Man, I'm tired. I need a vacation. I have so much to do. There's not enough hours in the day. I don't have time to take a break. Now I have to do that too. Sound familiar? We hear everybody talk about burnout and work-life balance. But it's rare we actually talk about your mental health while we do it. This is the podcast for you if you're a solopreneur, side hustler, novice, or seasoned business owner, someone who suffers from superwoman syndrome, or a combination of the above. It's time we get real and talk about the reality of what it's like to feel on paper that you've got it all together, but when the cameras stop rolling, you're riding the hot mess express. So grab a glass of wine and wind down as we whine about how we can go from burned out to bossed up. If you search for content on the subject of entrepreneurship, it could be a news article, a blog post, a YouTube video, a podcast episode, but more often than not, if you listen to the topic of entrepreneurship long enough, eventually they will talk about managing their resources. And this is not just true of entrepreneurs. This is really just a general business concept. And one of the aspects of business that those that are most successful do very well. And one of the reasons why managing resources is so important is because generally you only have a finite amount of each type of resource. And there's 3 types. The number one thing and resource that people talk about often is time. The other 2 are money and people. And all of these are related in how you choose to run a business. But this is also true for your personal life. And the number one resource that is mismanaged for those who suffer from burnout is your time. And the reason for that is you generally feel that you don't have enough time because it's the one resource that you can't get back. You can always get more people, whether that's to help you, support you. You can hire them if you're a business owner. Or for the example, money. Once you have a sound idea and you communicate those ideas to the general public, you can make an infinite amount of money with the right product and the right service to the right audience. But time is finite. Once that time comes and goes, you can't get it back. And so it is really critically important that you learn how to manage your time, especially if you are suffering from overwhelm and burnout as a result of superwoman syndrome. Because time is finite, it is your most valuable resource. And that is something, and that is a concept that you will hear talked about over and over again, regardless of whether it's a personal aspect or a business aspect. It's also important to note that when we're talking about time management, you need to remember 2 things. Too many short-term items, i.e. distractions, are going to hinder your long-term goals. And those goals, again, should be tied to your mission and vision. And on the other hand, too many long-term goals will have you focusing more on the execution and less about the overall process. It's important for you to embrace quick wins because they're just as important as the overall goal itself. Too many things in the short term make it hard for you to be able to fulfill those longer objective goals that will position your company in the position that you want it to be in ultimately for what it is you're trying to achieve. Too many long-term goals make it so that you are constantly spending your time executing and not necessarily seeing the progress that you want because you're focusing on such big and timely goals. So it's important that when we think of time, we also think about how long things are going to take us and use that to our advantage. Again, make sure you're balancing short-term and long-term activities so that you're moving the needle forward for things that are more strategic in nature, but also for some of those things that are quick wins and short tasks that we're actually tackling those too. When it comes to prioritizing self-care, I can't stress this enough. You need to make sure you actually have the hours available to do the task. And I know what you're thinking because I've said it too. I don't have time. I need more time. I don't have time to do anything. And the truth of the matter is, everybody has time. What you need to figure out is what needs to go off your plate so that you can put something on your plate that actually deserves to be there. Most of the time, when we're not satisfied with our lives, when we're not feeling fulfilled, it's because we're spending all of this time doing things as the expectations of others or because we feel like we should, and it's not really fulfilling us. It's not really making us happy. And because time is your most valuable resource, you need to spend it on what you truly need to focus on. So before we talk about managing resources, if you stumbled across this episode and you're like, I'm not exactly sure what I should be spending my time on, stop, rewind, go back to the previous episodes where we talk about prioritization, goal setting, what your mission and vision are, Superwoman syndrome if this is your first time hearing it, because a thorough understanding of how that impacts how you manage your time and your resources is truly important for the rest of this to make sense. Now, we just spent all this time talking about time, but in reality, we also have the two other resources of money and people. Okay, so let's talk about money. When I talk about resources that are available, most business owners automatically default to money because that is the number one thing that businesses need to operate depending on what it is that they are trying to achieve, whether it's the products that they offer and or the services that they provide. So yes, money is necessary. In the case of any new businesses that are opening, or for existing, more established businesses that have projects that they want to introduce into their product line and the services that they offer, startup costs are often a part of the resources that you need to allocate. When it comes to money, we often talk about startup costs and, how to allocate, how much money goes to what for your expenses or your sunk costs, or that we could spend hours talking about money when it comes to business. But personally, when it comes to managing your resources, oftentimes what we've been taught about money and how we grew up thinking about money is not actually in alignment with how we should be managing our resources for a life of fulfillment. Now, what do I mean by that? I want you to think about the areas in your life that are truly draining, truly suck all the energy out of you, and think of the areas in your life that bring you joy, or think of things that could bring you joy that are not currently present. And sometimes these things require money, and other times they don't. And so from a personal level, it's up to you to be able to look at those things, and if something is truly draining you, you need to do less of that. If something is filling your cup, you need to do more of that. And sometimes it is going to require a little bit more coins for you to be actually living the life that you truly deserve and want. If you're sleep deprived, you may need to invest in some things for better sleep. It might be supplements. It might be a better diet, better foods. It might be investing in quality sheets or pillows. You need to be active in terms of like exercise. You might not have a gym membership. You might need to get one. Or the gym membership you have isn't working for you. You need to invest in a different one. It's all about looking at how you currently spend money, which is a resource, and thinking like, is this actually serving me? There are a lot of things over the years that I've learned to do myself simply because I found that spending the time was better than spending the money for someone else to do it. And one really solid example of that is me doing my own natural hair. Now, I could do a whole podcast episode on what it means to have natural hair within the Black community. But just know this, there are things that I have invested the time to perfect the expertise in learning about my hair and learning about different elements of my hair so that I know how to better do it and better properly care for it and get better results than paying someone else to do that for me. And one of the reasons why I went on that journey to begin with was because when I was entrusting all of my time into going to a stylist, not only was I overpaying, but also a lot of stylists I found weren't prioritizing hair care, they were prioritizing hair styling. And one of the reasons why that was problematic was because it wasn't actually growing my hair and it actually wasn't good for my hair. And just having the knowledge and the expertise to spend that money on products that I know are better for my hair and better for my body was better than entrusting that into a stylist. And so whether it's your sleep, whether it's your diet, whether it's like your skin, your hair, your nails, it could be experiences, vacations, think about how you are spending your money. And there are certain things that you may find are better served by spending it either in a different way or saving it and doing it yourself. I say people are an asset because you are as strong as the knowledge that you have within your industry, the knowledge about the service that you provide, knowledgeable about potential strengths of your businesses, areas that you need improvement on, potential opportunities that you have within the competitive market or threats, an obstacle to your business potentially growing as fast as you would like. All of those things are requirements that you need in terms of the people that you have, whether it's a small team or whether it's just you if you're a solopreneur. These are things that you need to be aware of to make sure that you are making the right decisions in your business. The last resource is people, and I'm actually going to continue the hair care example when talking about this. Expertise is truly important, and especially when it comes to business, because if you are a thought leader in your space, or even if you share a space in a particular area, you have your own unique way of doing the thing that makes you you when it comes to your business, for your products, for your services. There may be 20, 30, 50, thousands, millions of therapists, but in particular, you're going to have your own unique way that you conduct therapy, that you communicate with your clients, that you find common ground to helping them navigate the challenges and the traumas that they have. But personally is different than a business standpoint. And what many of us are missing from the personal aspect is that we should be oftentimes thinking of quote unquote outsourcing our resources than trying to do all of these things ourselves. Or the reverse may be true in that sometimes you truly are better off doing something yourself. So in the case of my own natural hair, there are natural hair specialists and there are people that are specifically trained in their area of hair care to specifically deal with hair like mine. They are also very expensive. And so I took the time to learn about various elements of my hair because I had mentioned previously I had gone to several stylists and all they cared about was the styling aspect. They cared about how it looked. They didn't talk about any of the maintenance in between in terms of what it took to actually care for my hair. Whereas I took the time and studied what my hair texture was. And I found that I actually had more than one. And one of the reasons why I had so many hair troubles in the beginning before I transitioned to doing my hair naturally was because the stylist that I was going to, they weren't accounting for those different textures in the way that they treated my hair. So I had found that I had various textures. I also found I had a varying degree of density, as in how many individual strands are present on my scalp. And also, I had a different hair porosity, how easily my hair absorbs or does not absorb water. And all of those impact how I do my hair. This was a case that I found that utilizing another person as a resource, going to a different stylist and trying to explain everything that I just said wasn't actually worth the time or the money. It was better for me to do that on my own and learn how to style my own hair and care for my own hair to the point where now I can get my hair done as a luxury, but that is not something that I need someone else to do. And there's other areas of my life where money is better spent. For example, someone cleaning my house. Potentially getting a meal delivery service in the busy periods that I don't have time to cook. Getting my car detailed. Things that, could I do this? Absolutely. But do I need to do it? Not really. And that's the key difference between when you're trying to navigate and prioritize and manage your time in a certain way, understanding that area of resources where do I truly need to be the one managing this? Or is this an opportunity where I can introduce someone else, I can delegate this so that it gets done? Managing your resources with Superwoman Syndrome, while I've talked about all three resources, you will find that the number one way to overcome burnout and reduce the overwhelm in your life is to simply change how you manage your time. I mentioned the other two because they will help with that aspect in terms of, is there something that you can spend your money on to make things easier? Are there other people that you can introduce to make things easier depending on what it is? Or is it worth you investing the time and the energy to develop an expertise to be able to do certain things yourself? It really all just depends. But with that being said, your time is your blueprint. In order to get a better grasp on filling your cup, you actually have to make the space to be able to do that. And if you're not sure where to start, I encourage you to reach out to me and send me an email at hello@simplystellarsolutions.com just to start the conversation. Because sometimes all you need is a little bit of clarity to figure out what direction you want to go in to get on the right foot. If you enjoyed this podcast, I encourage you to check out my website, simplystellarsolutions.com, to learn more about what I do and how I can help you redesign a life that you can feel good about. Whether it's an event, a business strategy, or just making things more streamlined, you've come to the right place. Until next time.